Welcome to the Design 498 lecture on quality systems. It's the 1 o'clock meet from Wednesday the 26th. It's Professor Schuster, and we're just going to go over the introduction to the ISO quality standard and how it's going to be done for you, how it's going to work into what you're going to do this week. So let's take a look really quickly at what the ISO standard is. Here it is right here. You'll see International Standard 9001, Quality Management Systems Requirements. Some people go, is that Quality Management Systems or Quality Management Systems? And the answer is yes. They both apply. And this is basically how do you work to ensure that your products and services meet the needs of your clients and your processes ensure that. So there's all sorts of stuff in here. It's a fairly significant standard, but the first part of it is really about the upper levels of your organization and how you're organized and who does what and who's responsible for what. Some of it gets into more details, but we're going to live in the operations section right here. Okay, we're going to start with 8.1, which is planning, and we're going to move through a lot of this. And as you look at design and development, changes to requirements, prototype, externally provided processes, production, all of these things are where you guys are living. So that's where we're going to go, and we'll do one of these things each week. Okay, and you should get good at learning how to read things like this. They do get into some detail if you come down here, just looking at how things are organized and how they're numbered and how do you read these things. It's really good to know how to do. So I can suggest that you take that course on how to read specifications. It would be really good. But there's the standard. We're going to start with 8.1, determining the requirements of the product or service. So let's see what that looks like here. Here's a sheet that I've made for you. You are going to be required to do this, to use this on your own, and at the midterm exam, I'm going to ask you for these things, and we're going to discuss them. So this is just a little checklist, but let me make it a little bit bigger for you. Okay, 8.1 states that the organization, that's the design hub, shall plan, implement, and control. Well, we'll talk about what those three things all mean later on. So we have to do three things to the processes, to the way of doing things, the methods needed to meet requirements of products and services. Okay, and they're saying one of the ways is by determining the requirements for the products and services. Yeah, hard to implement or control or plan for these things if you don't know what they are. So that's what we're doing right here. Okay, very first one. And you do have the opportunity to do that this week or early next week if you need to. So let's take a look here. There's a little checklist that you can run through, and it's called a self-reflection, which is the same as an internal audit. Okay, you're checking for yourself if you are doing the job according to the standard. So if you're going to determine the requirements for the products and services, your organization should at least know who the client is. And best practice is that you should too. And the client might be your overall client, the welding department, or somebody who works in it, Chris Messier, or somebody who's going to get your product and turn it into something for them, Tristan Burns, or Omar, or somebody like that you're going to work with. So you need to know who the client is, and you can put multiple clients down if you want, if you know. But then the next question that we need to know is, how did you know that? Do we have a process that makes sure that you know that? Maybe it's, oh, we all just get together and chat about it. That's okay, so long as somebody is recording what goes on in the chat. Maybe you have a formal form that gets filled out that you can look at. Maybe it's in something else like this. This is our spreadsheet of our initial projects, and you can see who is the client right there. Okay? So you'll have to let us know, how do you know that? And then what evidence do you have? Do you have a copy of that? Do you have a link to it? Did you just write it down once you saw it? Those are all good answers. The only answers that don't work is, I don't know, or I have no clue. Okay? And you may not have the evidence, but you should. You might say, my department, my project leader has the evidence. So once you know who the client is, you should probably, if you're going to know the requirements, determine the requirements, know the desired outcome. They're sort of the same thing. They're very close. And how do you know that? Well, our desired outcome is listed right here. Okay? It's not exactly like knowing the requirements, but it's a good start. So here, you might write, how do you know? You might write project list, and you might put this link here. Okay, so as you go along, that's how you might do it. The next one is, what skill sets apply? Okay, whoever is working on this should be skilled in some fashion. If you're doing welding, certain welders have to be certified. That could be part of the skill set. That could be one of the requirements. You could have a skill set that says the person must know JavaScript. The person must know Maya. It all depends on what's going on. Do you know the skill set that's applied to this particular project? And do you know that you match it? Okay, if you don't, you have to be answering those questions. What constitutes a good outcome? So this, along with the outcome, sort of means what the requirements are. Okay? Do you know what is a good outcome for what you do? Now, maybe you just have to say, well, it has to pass a test, or so-and-so is going to tell me. But how are you going to get the job done if you don't know what a good job is? That's what this one is about. And then, of course, it's, how do you know? Oh, I made it up. I'm in charge. Oh, that's getting close to being kind of flaky. We might want to have some of those. Now, we have on this list just the outcome. We don't have a way of finding out what the best outcome is. That might be something that your team leaders will tell you. Okay? And if you don't know, that means you have to go find out and start asking questions. Do you have a short-term plan for your part of the project? Now, often in the Design Hub, we're going to tell you that you make your own plan. And you would say, yes. Yes. How do you know? I made it. And what evidence do you have? Did you write it down? Is it on a project planner? Is it on a scribbled piece of paper? How would somebody find out that you've done that and that you have some evidence for it? Part of this project and the requirements is, I'm going to make this a little smaller, folks. Do you know the format? If you're making a model of something, should it be an STL, an OBJ? Does it have texture on it? Is it high poly? Is it low poly? Do you know the format? If you're doing a program, does it have to be in a specific language? Does it have to be in the cloud? Does it have to be on a USB? Is there security on it? All of these things are part of the format, and you should be asking that question. Do you know? And always provide evidence. When is your part due? That's part of the requirements. When do you need it? When does it have to be done? So when is your part of this due? How do you know? Who are you going to let know that it's due? Who are you going to transmit your result to? Is it to the final user? They may not want to see it. Could it be your project leader? Maybe. Maybe it's the next person on the chain of the command who just needs your output. If I'm making an asset for a game, maybe the next person is the Unity programmer. These are all part of figuring out the requirements of this product. And then the big one is, who is going to check your work? Who is going to check your work? You may know what the proper output requirement is, but somebody's going to be checking you, I think. Okay, so you're going to fill this out every time you start a new project. Now, sometimes it can continue, and next week there will be a new part of this. Okay? So I'm going to delete this out, because what you're going to do is going to make a copy of this of your own, and you're going to keep these going. And during the midterm, you're going to provide these to me, and we're going to just have a chance to discuss them and what they mean to you and how they've worked. Okay, so for right now, this week, you might get your assignment and start working through these portions of it. Okay, and they're all about determining the requirements for the products and services. Okay, so let's take another little look at what comes next. I want to show just very quickly a word about document control. It is
Today,
very
we'll
important.
talk about saving your files. It is part of document control, and although it seems like a lot of work, it can actually save you from disaster.
Ever been down to the wire? And then your files are gone? Your dog ate your paper, your flash drive, or even your computer? It actually does happen. Or worse, you can be hacked or ransomed. It's a bummer when you can't finish the job, or get your credit and you have to start over again.
So, save your work in a lot of different places. The ISO 9001 say that you need to keep them readily available, legible, and identifiable. If you save in a lot of places, if one goes down, then you can still access the others. And one last thing. Save your work early, even before you're done. And save it often, that way if you do lose something, you only lose a little bit. Remember, save early and often.
Okay, now I'm going to show you something that you probably already know how to do, and I want you to think about why I'm showing this to you.
When working on projects or assignments for your classes, it is important to save your work in multiple areas to ensure that you don't lose it. You have 3 options to save your work. You can save your work on your computer, flash drive, or ARC Student Google Drive. When saving your work into a folder on your computer or flash drive, it is important to note that the process is different if you are working with a Google application such as Google Docs or Google Sheets. To save a file that is not associated with Google into your computer or flash drive, select the tab entitled File. Then Save As. Then Browse. This will prompt you to input a name, file type, and location for your file, which can either be in your computer or your flash drive. To complete the saving process, be sure to select the blue tab entitled Save. To save a file that is from a Google application into your computer or flash drive, you must first convert the file. To do this, select the tab File, then Download. This will prompt you to select the file type for your download. Once the download is complete, you will be able to access the file from your downloads on your computer. To change the location of the file, simply push and hold left-click on your mouse on the file and drag the file into any location on your computer or into your flash drive. There are two ways to save your files into your student Google Drive. You can select New, then File Upload to choose the file you would like to save, or you can push and hold left-click on your mouse on the file and drag the file directly into your student Google Drive. Now you know how to save your files into multiple areas. Thank you for watching.
Okay, so hopefully you've had a chance to think about that. This is going back to the requirements. First of all, file management is very, very, very important. But even at the most basic level, you have to ensure that your entire workforce is trained to do the work the way you want it done. And so most organizations will make you go through some very, very basic training exercises to ensure that. So that's why I showed that one, even though most of you, I'm sure all of you, already know how to save files. Okay, so that's what we've got. The last thing I'd like to do is show you what's going on in Canvas for right now, for this week, and what's due. So here's 428. I'll put this into a student view. Hopefully I'll be able to do that. There we go. And so you can see that, right, there's a productivity submittal due and a quality submittal due. So let's see how to do those. Go to Modules. First of all, let's talk about the WEXP Docs. I pushed it out because they're not quite ready yet. You got bundle number 1. Please sign those as soon as you are able to. When those are back in, then we'll be able to do bundle number 2. Okay, and so when you get it back as a PDF, you'll just submit it. Okay. But for productivity, you're going to fill out your time card for this week. To do that, file, make a copy, and fill out your time card with the hours that you were scheduled to work and the hours that you did work. Okay, and that's something that you work with Professor Torres in the Design Hub. So you're going to submit a PDF of that. And then you're going to just write a statement in here when you do that. Okay. Oh, and there are no transmittals this week. Okay, so when you put that in, okay, you don't have this. When you submit your time card, submit your productivity rating with a reflective explanation. So let's say that I'm going to do that. Let me go on to the next one. When I come in here, I'll put my PDF in here, and then down here, and you would submit that. So you tell what productivity was. I expected to take so many hours to do whatever you did, and it took me so many hours. Okay, that's what I'm looking for there. So that's your productivity time card submittal that's due. Deliverable submittal, you can just put an empty one in for now, or not an empty one, just you can either skip it, or if you have a file transmittal, you can do it. Oh, I'm wrong. That's where you put, sorry about that. Put your time card in here. This is where you write your productivity support. Okay, I gave you a separate place to put it. So let's go back to that again. You've got 3 things to turn in on the 24th for productivity. Your time card, PDF. A deliverable transmittal, you do not need to do that this week. And a productivity report, you do need to do that this week. Okay, so that's how you'll do that. Once your productivity is done, you'll do your quality blog, which I need to go back and get my quality blog. Here's the template. So for this week, you may or may not have deliverables depending on how soon you got started on your project and whether it's something that you could do very quickly or not. But you certainly have planned activities. Those activities are, at the very least, learning the answer to all of these questions and planning your project. So you can definitely put in some planned activities. You can put in a visualization of your results. And then down here, how does your work help you meet the Design Hub qualities? Right product at the right time at the right format. Well, this week, okay, our quality goal had to do with determining the requirements of the product and services. So I could certainly put that in right there. Okay, and this, determining the requirements, directly relates to the right product. And when is your part due directly relates to the right time. And knowing the format directly relates to the right format. So you will write something about that. You'll just take a few moments to say how those three things relate. Okay, and you'll just type that in down here. Blah, 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 blah. Okay? Hopefully that helps you do that. I know that this is a little bit hard to think in these terms, but we'd like you to do that. Okay, so that's it for now. Please get with, watch for your email from Prof. Torres about what project you're being assigned to. Just know these are short-term, just get started projects that are here so that you can start thinking about how to plan a project. These are not your final projects that you're going to work on. Most of these should be due at the end of this week or the end of next week, so that it gives us time to really get you guys organized into your teams of what you're going to want to be doing. Okay? So, feel free to, as soon as you get an email, check with the team leaders on when people are available, and good luck and start working. And I hope that you enjoy putting this work together to make sense of how we operate. Thanks, you guys.